Hello, and welcome to the episode of The Card Show. In this week's episode, we're talking about the opportunities, shall we say, that there is currently in the UK/European hobby. We're coming to that infamous summer period where it's card show seasons galore. Galore. So I want to talk about card shows and the opportunities there is at card shows, the amount of card shows we have now compared to what we used to have. And yeah, just how it all figures in, basically. So, without further ado, let's get into the episode. As recording this the weekend, the 6th of July, or the 7th, I was going to say. I know I say it a lot. We just had a couple of car shows just in the UK alone. It was 3 or 4 in the UK alone. Obviously, Northwest, Ipswich, Essex. I think there might be someone else as well. And there's probably a few more that I don't even know about. Another big one in Europe was the Card Madness over in Germany. Doesn't mean there wasn't other ones in other countries I know about. Just they're the ones that were sort of on my feed. The algorithm would push to me, and all friends that I had known through the hobby are at. I think a lot of discussion has happened over on this podcast before, on other podcasts. Is it too many card shows? Is it too many card shows? Not enough sort of sellers, not enough buyers, not enough money in the room. Are they too thick, too fast, sort of thing? Especially if you look at Northwest now. So we had Northwest Card Show this weekend. The following weekend is the Manchester Card Con. And I think Manchester Card Show is real soon as well. I can't remember the date. You can take this back 2 years ago. 2022, 2023 area, 2020, maybe not so much last year because there's quite a few shows, but definitely 2023, 2022, 2021, etc. People loved this. People have done all sorts crazy for shows on the doorstep, or even to have that sort of option if it wasn't even your doorstep. To have him. Let's say it was one a month in London and people just travel down. I think people would love that. They were now in a position where they're all the time. Let's face it, I'm a big fan of card shows at weekends. I don't think it has to be, the national size, London card show size, sort of extremely big. But you got to think about it from, let's just say you are from the Northwest and you don't drive. Your travel is public transport. So and there's a show in Essex, and you think, I'd love to have gone to a card show this weekend. But Essex is, it's not easy to get to from Manchester. I think it's a train to London, then a train to Essex. Costly. Hotel, maybe if you want to stay the night before to get there early doors. You probably have to do that and possibly stay over. And then even if that's not the issue, even if the issue is you in Manchester, you don't travel, and there's one in the Northwest this weekend, what if you've got other plans? Your life might revolve around cards. So you might have other plans. You might have family, friends, weddings, birthdays, christenings, whatever it may be. So all of a sudden it's like, there's a car show in Manchester on my doorstep. I couldn't go to it because I did X, Y, Z. But 2 weeks later, there's another one in the Northwest area. How lucky are you now? And I do get it. If you've got to look at the seller's point of view, if you're a seller from these areas, it's you just going back and forth from Essex to Manchester one week and doing it the weekend after, and we might going up down from Scotland, etc., to do it. Do shows. But that's sort of your business, right? Your business is to sell cards. You'll go where you have an opportunity to sell cards. To have a little less sort of thing for them. It is them to pick and choose what's best for them. I sort of get it. They won't go to every show, but that's not a bad thing either. Might open up the opportunity for someone else to come and sell. We're seeing how the industry is getting sort of pushed at the moment for breaking. Fanatics are heavily pushing that side of things. So you're gonna have a lot of people coming in that having have a lot of cards that they didn't want because they're gonna have to buy teams in breaks, and they're not always gonna hit. So a lot of people go. Don't get me wrong, they're gonna be great cards. We're gonna have a lot of base cards, gonna be inserts, parallels. You may have some number stuff. You may have some patches, some autos. You may, and just gonna get lumbered with it because it's not what they really wanted. They wanted a certain player. They wanted the big hit because they wanted to gamble as opposed to get into cards. And all of a sudden they couldn't become sellers. So they give them an opportunity to go, I'll get a table, I'll try and sell stuff. And all of a sudden they sell a couple of things, they trade a big bundle of cards for something that they're more interested in. And it helps grow that way. I think it's going to be interesting to see how it goes the next couple of years. I know that obviously there's a whole thing with sort of London, when London got so big that it was starting to get a lot more Pokemon in there. Because if you go to the early days of London Card Show, it was very much sports, very much sports cards, because of the community that at the time it was UK card collectors sort of had. So when he was announcing it, it was a lot more just sports people. I think he was an F1 breaker, and F1 cards were his thing, sort of thing. So that's just sort of the community he had, sort of sports, F1. He did do other sports as well, NFL and stuff like that. But as it's grown, Pokemon's come there a lot more. And I think there was a show a couple of years ago, and some people didn't like some of the Pokemon. Then we had a little splinter off, sort of like sports cards only shows. And we have seen them sort of struggling in some respects. And Mark has been open and said it was close to shutting down. Luckily, I think that made people realise that they do want it. So if you want it, you have to support it. You can't just expect it to always be there. I think that show's on 3 times a year. Not wrong. I see Southampton is a sports card only show. That seems to be on like 1 to twice a year. It's not much. I'd love, I'd need to get Martin on. He's a cool guy. Nice guy, Martin. Card sales. It'd be good to get him on and talk about his journey to hobby and obviously the sports card only show he does in Southampton. But again, Southampton, I've never been to the Southampton show. It's at the bottom of the country. I did do Brighton once. That was an interesting journey with a certain Mr. Third Down. But they are long sort of journeys if you want to go there as someone who if you ever like cars, you just want to pick up a few. Especially when you think about how easy it is nowadays to pick up cards, to buy and sell cards through eBay, whatnot, etc. Anyone can get an account and sell. So you're going to go out your way a little bit to sort of be immersed more in the hobby, right? You're going to go to see people you spoke with on Instagram, spend some time with some friends, maybe take some friends with you to get into the hobby and stuff like that, and have a good weekend away. So sometimes it's good to have shows up in the country every other week. And yes, it does divide sellers, but also gives opportunities for new sellers to come through. You don't want to get stuck going to the same shows every 2 months or every month, like after a payday, because you're thinking, oh, we're only to do shows once a month, and it'll be they say then it's the same sellers with you can't really refresh their inventory quick enough, or good enough. So I'm a fan of it. Like I said, they don't all have to be the national size. They don't all have to be massive shows. It'll be interesting if other countries go in a similar vein, because I also only know the bigger ones in Germany, and they seem to, like Card Adventure, Card Madness, they seem to be consistently a couple of times a year sort of thing. It's never like overkill. It's never like 6 shows a year, and the competing sort of thing. It's very interesting how it's happening in England compared to how it's happening the rest of Europe. I mean, again, I may not know about every show in Germany, but the ones I see and hear about, it's like there's like 3 or 4. I think it's just a Berlin one I've seen, but it's like 3 or 4 shows. Where you look at England, and I can pretty much say every town now has a card show. Newcastle has a card show. Manchester has numerous. Obviously, Northwest as an area has some. Liverpool, Ipswich. I just talked about. Worcester. Worcester have a card show. I think I've seen Worcester, but yeah, you get the drift, right? Everywhere seems to have a card show in the UK. I don't see that as much for Germany. I've seen Berlin. Dusseldorf maybe was one. Um, and again, same with was it Norway? They had a card show. I think I see one in Switzerland. You know, it just seems like one show for these areas, and maybe again, maybe because the hobby's not there, maybe because people that did it just blossom into maybe in 2 years' time, they'll be in this scenario where every place in that country has a show each month. But yeah, it's interesting. I think Ireland started to have a few more shows now, which is interesting. They're starting to catch up, and obviously the Soccer Cards United boys do one in Dublin. I think I've seen another Dublin card show pop up. And these other shows around there. And again, I think it's great. You know, they only are doing their show. I think it's once a year. So why would you not have the opportunity to put other shows on? You know, the Scotland card show, for instance, is once a year. But I know there's another little car show around there, like Aberdeen or something crazy. I don't know if it moves or not. And we've seen Sports Car Scotland do like trade events, and obviously he's done a charity like card show football match. As I was recording, so it was today. Yeah, I've not seen much footage yet. He has put a picture up. I think it's 11-9, a football score. We went well. Shout out to the Sports Car Scotland team in the charity. But it is interesting that we get more people complain, we get more, and we didn't have any, or not enough people were like, oh, it'd be great to, and I think a lot of it as well comes to the fact of, people have turned this side of it into a career as well. People have gone from having, a lot of people in the UK got into cards during COVID. So they had essentially free cash. They used that free cash to get back into the hobby, buy some stuff. Or Gary Vee got into it, as an investment. Then he sort of got hooked in Aldo in the hobby, and that's sort of the way. And some people quit the job because they could turn this into something quite successful. It's interesting. That's the probably most common route for UK. I can't speak for the rest of Europe, but for definitely for UK, they've probably been in the hobby for 4 or 5 years, sort of thing. And then you probably only saw that sort of route really because of the lack of card shows, right? And then all of a sudden you see the success of London, and you hear about Harry's story, and everyone thinks that they can all of a sudden do a card show. It's easy, make loads of money. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I don't think everyone's in it for money. I think a lot of people are in it for the community and somewhere to actually go and not have to spend loads of money. I've talked about it numerous times. I wouldn't do a card show, partly because I just couldn't be doing the stress. But I would love to have one on my doorstep. I'm lucky. I've got a couple close to me. Northwest isn't too far when it's at Warrington. That's 20-odd-minute drive, maybe, give or take. Maybe a bit more. Yeah, half an hourish at best. On a bad day. Manchester Cardgon, usually at Stockport. Again, 20-minute drive with that. Manchester Cardgon was in Manchester Central for the first couple. Manchester Card Show, sorry, was in Manchester Central for a few times. Very small then, but in Manchester, so I could jump on a Metrolink and it would be there in like 15 minutes. And it's like a 5-minute walk from the Met stop, if that. There's a train station right near as well, to be fair. We got there even quicker. But now it's in Bolton, so it's a bit further out. It's funny, it's called Manchester Card Show. It's in Bolton Football Club, but hey ho. Hey ho. Hey ho. But yeah, of course, I'd love to have one South Manchester for them people, and it's also closer for me. That sort of Trafford area. But yeah, the stress of it. So I think fair play to people who do it. Like I said, not everyone's doing it for money. Some people do it just to have one close to them, so they don't have to travel. Because let's face it, if we, the people that did get into the hobby during the COVID times, they may remember one of the first like proper card shows, which was the Wolves in the Wolverhampton Football Club one. There's also been card fairs and that sort of stuff for a long, long time, but a lot of people don't really know about them sort of stuff. I was sort of blessed that I grew up with that sort of stuff because at my secondary school. So shout out to Timpley branch. Yeah, that was my secondary school. So I used to go down there because I lived pretty much across the road as well from that as well. From my school, which is fortunate and unfortunate. I'll tell you that something. Um, so yeah, so I still go to my local card fair to this day. Uh, Next one's coming. Yeah, the last one we did get cancelled, unfortunately, but there's one coming up soon. But yeah, they weren't because it's not the sort of the latest products. It's obviously vintage. It's not always it's not sports. It's everything from flowers, cards of flowers to kings and queens. All sorts of cards. Cigarette cards, that sort of stuff. And you can honestly spend hours there. Binders full of stuff. The people are full of so much knowledge of these vintage cards. It's crazy. You do get some like maybe 90s like soccer stuff. Have I seen anything 2000s? Maybe early 2000s if you're lucky. And again, different branches will be different, and that's another good thing, I suppose. It's every 3 months, and it's the same sort of sellers in that branch sort of thing. If you go to another branch, it'll be different sellers. You may get some sort of one or two seller crossovers where they do go around, but more often than not, it's the same sort of sellers at the same one, and they have like a big sort of national thing as well, which does sort of move. I think I've known me JJ Cards, who is now called That Cards, and Sports Cards UK talked about going to it, but it was similar time. I think El Toro as well. It was similar time to London Card Show, and that was down south somewhere again. But again, they have a massive event like that, and that's crazy. Again, it's like a sports hall scenario, but when you have that many cards in a binder of theirs, and they have the like shelves from filling the tables up, they have hundreds of thousands of cards. It's crazy. You spend a lot of time looking through them. So a lot of people don't class them sort of things as card shows, especially compared to you compare a card fair, you look at card fair to like what's going on with Scotland Card Show, London Card Show, where we have sort of Disney Lorcana and Pokemon artists, voiceover actors, sports stars. There, it's completely different. It really is. Chalk and cheese, as I say, night and day. Doesn't mean it's any less enjoyable. It's just different. It's just one's a card show, and it really is a show now. There's VR stuff going on there. They have a content creators that they used to have content creators though, and there's live streaming going on, live breaking going on. It's a proper modern sort of show. So people sort of see that side, don't they? Just invested. Some may remember the Wolverhampton one, which was more. I it was more card fair, but it was more just a case of tables, cards, people come buy, sell, trade, sort of thing. Nowadays, it's a full-on experience at a lot of shows. It's for you and your family, sort of thing. Everyone's involved. There's always something. There was recently an email from London Card Show talking about the XL show next year, and that's what they've got going on. There's a gaming bus there, kitted out with state of the art gaming PCs, consoles. I think it's 30 plus people going on there. 30 people. Crazy. That is a card show. They've had the F1 simulator. I've said it about CardCon. The size of CardCon, not Manchester CardCon down in Farnborough. The size of it, like for them, they've missed so many tricks. If they're listening, or anyone who knows them is listening, who can get in the whisper in their ear. I heard there was a bit too much Pokemon at the last one. All I'm gonna say is this: the first one was a really good show. I enjoyed it. One of my favorite shows, favorite weekends. I had a lot of space, just empty, neglected, derelict. You had opportunities there, put in, a football net. Even if you want to go all out, put a bit of AstroTurf down so the goalkeeper can dive. Do penalty shootouts. You pay a couple of quid. score goals, win packs, the overall winner. You know, have like a leaderboard. You can score the most pens in a minute. You know, stuff like that. 10 pens, whatever. And the winner of it gets a box. You know, that can be sponsored by Sports Cars Direct, and they can give away a box of something. You know, whether it's sapphire or chrome, I don't know, anything to drum thing. Guess what? You can have next to that. You can have a basketball hoop, do a 3-point contest, I don't know if anyone can dunk in the UK like that. We do a dunking contest, do these things and have a basketball pack giveaway, have a basketball box for the winner. Yeah, no. I've always thought that about the F1 simulator at London. Man, you should definitely do like a speed lap, and best speed or best lap gets a box. But yeah, I just think it's a great way to be interactive, to get more people down. I mean, I said the size of card got it. They could add a football net easily in there. You know, basketball. You could put a basketball court down there, like bottom end basketball court done. Nets that, net it off a little bit. Football, whether you do 5-side, have a little team game. You could do a little 5-side net. That's how P was. You have a little 5-side pitch, or just do penalties sort of thing, whatever. Now, obviously, you had Luke Humphries there last time, so you have a little dartboard. Dartboard, what you need, 8 dartboard and, 8 foot? Is there a daft like that? Stand 8 foot back, throw your darts, crack on. Win the Panini PDC boxes or something, I don't know. Yeah, you could, honestly, call it bins, do an NFL wall, do NFL challenge, you can get them in these bins. Different bins have different scoring points. But like we see at the Pro Bowl stuff now, that sort of stuff. I just think that amount of space you've got, if you're not going to fill it with tables of cards and not going to go all out for that sort of stuff, then do something like that. I mean, I know Northwest, when they have the Liverpool one, big arena there, they get stuff in for kids. They have like baking stands, people baking cakes sort of stuff. Bouncy castles, now that sort of stuff that's again totally different from a card fair, whereas a couple of older people, should we say, older gentlemen and gentle ladies sat down at the old desk with thousands of cards, and that's it. And obviously all their cards, their comps are done from a book. Basically, a book will tell you how much the card's worth, as opposed to looking through different comping apps and having different prices and not agreeing and trying to get somewhere in the middle and arguing over a dollar to a pound. Wow, it's sold for $35. You got it for £30. Oh, it's probably about 26, really. What do you do, 26? But yeah, it's the way of the world, right? But I think we're very blessed. I think we should count our blessings a little bit. That we have some people willing to put shows on, willing to put the work in for us. They got there, put on these shows up and down the country, meaning that more often than not, you're going to have one close to you, close proximity. We've seen that now with shops. Shout out to those guys that run in shops. They're popping up. How often, have you said, if only Game could stop this, if only I might see if my local supermarket's got any of these in, and that's the best there is. Can't get the proper high-end products though. And now you get in these shops, they're all the shops are having supply of the latest stock, whether that's up and down the country from Plymouth to, I think, Yorkshire, third down, maybe the most northern shop, I'm going to say. That it's like sports cards as well as, a lot of them are like TCG mainly shops, sort of things, quite a lot of them. But yeah, on a sports front specifically. But that's another podcast, maybe. Lots of what card shops. But yeah, just my thoughts. Some people will complain, some people moan, some people, just had comments, I suppose, opinions about the amount of card shows, the lack of card shows for a few months, and the amount we have the following. I think if you really like card shows, you really like cards, and embrace it if you've got the funds and that's what you want to do, your money and time. They said there's always one on at the moment, which is great. You're not always going to see the same sellers because they might be elsewhere. So it's a nice variety. And sometimes be a nice like day out or weekend away, Another thing to think about as well. Because again, if it all went away and we were left with a couple of shows a year, how would you feel then? How would you feel then? But yeah, it's going to be very interesting to watch Europe is my one. Will they follow? Will Germany have one in each sort of area soon? Does it already? Will it happen in Italy? We've talked about the Amsterdam car show. Will other places in Holland start having shows? The Netherlands, apparently, got to say now. I think I know Spain car show sort of moves. I think it was Valencia. I was at Barcelona. I think it moves elsewhere. And it was the Ibiza card show. But yeah, it's great to see this sort of thing happening, right? The card shows popping up. I think if you're from the UK and you're here in the Barcelona card show, it sounds like a great weekend going to Barcelona and going to a card show as well. And I think you got to look at that same way with England, I think there is a Cotswolds card show, I believe. I think it was very TCD heavy, but still, Cotswolds a nice area. I don't know if you'll ever get like a Lake District one. But Worcester's a nice area. I recently went past there. Did I stop there? No, I didn't. I was going to stop there and go to Hickory's. See, this is my plan. But end up going to Gloucester and I had Five Guys. No, I didn't. I lied to you then. I had Popeyes. Pope Yes. Yeah, Popeyes. Don't want to say Five Guys. Muffy feeding one. But none of those food chains sponsor this podcast, so don't worry about that. But they are my thoughts on how lucky we are. And I get it. I do get it. The sort of negative, if you want to call it, side of things where people, will have their opinion on things. But how lucky we are really to have them up and down the country, because you can't always make the one that's closest to you just because of plans. So it's have one not too far away the following weekend or 2 weekends after clearly helps if you want to prosper in this hobby, whether it's prospering collecting what you want to collect or prospering in investing, flipping, etc. So yeah, there's my take. Let me know your thoughts. Always down to hear your thoughts as always. But I'm gonna love you and leave you for another week. And look out, we'll be back Friday, as always. As like it's not always late. But yeah, hope everyone's well. I will not disclose the news yet. I had a few DMs. The world, this is gonna, I tell you, gonna rock the hobby. Rock the hobby. Nothing to do with tops though. It's nothing to do with MGC. But still, it's gonna rock the hobby. This news. Shake it up. That's what I tell you. Shake it up, boys and girls. But yes, I appreciate you all as always. Your support means everything. So make sure you are subscribed to the channel. It means everything to me. Can't thank you enough. And I will see you on Friday. Take care.